Welcome anyway to this practice. Here's a block in my hand. That might be the only thing you would like to have today beside your usual staples. I will remove this now, but of course you can have a bolster there for relaxation and general support. And you can also have a blanket there if you like, or a cushion. Block might be handy to have, so you could choose to keep that very close by your mat. We will begin lying down on the backs today. So when you are ready, just finding your way down onto the floor. You can choose to just simply lie down if you wish. But you could also choose a reclined butterfly position or Supta Baddha Konasana. With just one block, there's little support here in it. If you do have a second one or a cushion, you might use those. As the option here is to let the knees fall open with the soles of the feet touching. Now, sometimes this is very nice and releases inner thighs, hips, and is good for your lower back. On other days, this is unsuitable. If unsuitable, please bring your knees up. You can simply rest lying down with knees bent or legs long. If you think a support would help, you can place a block or on the other side as well under the leg to assist holding the position. So you still get the same benefits from it. None of that is mandatory, of course. If you then decide, I have changed my mind, that is fair enough. If you want to stay within this posture, you can choose the classical version where your feet are really quite close towards your body. A more intense way of lengthening and stretching, but maybe also quite supportive as the feet pressing together. The other version is where you bring the feet quite far away, maybe more relaxing, less opening here. So these are only choices. Find your way. Middle way is also an option. You could then choose to close your eyes. And as usual, just taking time to acknowledge how you're rocked up on the mat today. Taking in the different aspects of yourself as you notice the physical body. There's little parts that just want to move right now and you are resting there. Please do apply little movement if you notice any of those parts. Assist them to feel better. Then acknowledge your energy level as you prepare. And notice what is on your mind. Not analyzing, just noticing what it is. And then also notice your emotional state or how you're feeling. I did choose a card for today's practice. I might share it with you later because I believe that card is meant for me, not necessarily for you. And hence, instead, I will share a poem with you. A poem about yoga. It's called The Fruits of Practice. While you might choose to listen to this poem, I would encourage you to deeply breathe in and out. Maybe letting your breath flow in the full yogi style from your belly toward your lower ribs and up to your collarbones, and out again from the belly to ribs to collarbones. As you might choose to practice the 3-part breath, you might also listen to the poem. Despite fervent pleas for ease and safety, there are many days when reality doesn't quite line up with what I'd choose. Breakdown, letting go, surrendering even the illusion of control, breathing into the unknown. Sometimes that is what life holds. Practice hasn't brought an end to pain. I still increase my suffering like a fish caught on a line. My struggles only draw the hook in deeper. But being in reality is its own reward. It's the perfect paradox. The courage to stand and breathe when everything in me wants to flee is a great gift, as the freedom to seek retreat. No, practice hasn't brought an end to pain, but it has honed my willingness to experience the moment and sometimes see perfection unfolding in ways I wasn't big enough to plan, much less predict. Practice isn't about achieving a goal. It is not a means to prevail over suffering. Practice is my way of looking life in the face and saying yes to all its disparate gifts. Practice keeps me awake when I would sleep and reminds me it's the journey unfolding in this very moment. It's the journey that reveals the truth and not the destination. Maybe an intention arose within you as you listen. Maybe it is that intention that we usually bring to the practice of presence. Maybe it is the intention not to look for an outcome, to simply do for the sake of doing and the joy of doing, whatever it might be for you. You could silently repeat that intention to yourself 3 times. Before we move into a few rounds of the Viloma Pranayama, so a breathing practice where we count to 3 when we breathe into the belly. Continue inhaling, counting to 3 lower ribs. Continue inhaling and counting to 3 up to your collarbones. There's an option then to hold the breath and would breathe out from the top down to the bottom for a count of 9. If you find any aspect of this technique, the counting, the holding of the breath in particular, unsuitable for yourself, please skip that idea and instead breathe deeply as you've done before. Let's begin if you choose to. Inhaling to the belly, 3, 2, 1. Lower ribs, 3, 2, 1. Collarbones, 3, 2, 1. Hold. And out from the top for 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathing into the belly, 3, 2, 1. Lower ribs, 3, 2, 1. Collarbones, 3, 2, 1. Hold. Out from the top for 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathing naturally and just observing yourself, practicing this present moment awareness. If you like, we will go again another 2 rounds of this technique. Inhaling to the belly, 3, 2, 1. Lower ribs, 3, 2, 1. Collarbones, 3, 2, 1, hold. And out from the top for 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhaling to the belly, 3, 2, 1. Lower ribs, 3, 2, 1. Collarbones, 3, 2, 1. Holding. And out from the top for 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And breathing naturally. Noticing what happens. And we will begin our first movement lying down on the back. As you might help your knees to come up, remove the support if there was any. Step your feet out to mat distance and gently let the knees roll inwards. If you were holding Supta Baddha Konasana, the last posture for the whole time, you might feel a slight release here in the sides. It's okay if you don't. Let your arms then open and gently fall away from your body, separating the knees ever so slightly. And in a light motion, as you're used to, just letting your knees sway a little bit from side to side. So you experience a mild rocking sensation across your lower back. And then you might increase the range of movement and go more towards a twist. You could also choose to let your head come along with the movement or go into opposite directions if you preferred. This is all really just a limbering up, as when you find your balance left and right side, please center yourself again. Heel and toe your feet down onto the mat at about hip distance apart, and then bring your right knee over the chest and give it a loving hug in. If you like, you can also extend your left leg out long. If that is your choice, please flex the left foot. I've now started almost automatically drawing the right side of the hip downwards when the leg is extended, so the pelvis is back in balance. Then squeezing the knee in more tightly. An option on your out breath to raise your nose towards the knee. Maybe hold there for a moment. Then lower your upper body and head back to the ground. Placing your right hand upon your kneecap, the left hand just loosely onto the other hip bone, and start in a small way to circle from your hip. So we're circling out while making circles with the knee, moving into the hip joint. The hand on the other side of your hip there to help you keep that side grounded. Pause. And now change the direction. Then take another squeeze of the knee towards the chest, and while you choose to hold, start to circle your foot. So now moving into the little joints in the foot itself and the ankle, and then changing direction here too. Placing now the left hand upon the right knee, and let your other arm fall out to the side. Gently encourage the knee across for Charitara Asana. Our twist here might be a little bit strong, and you can choose to rock a little bit in and out of the twist, but everything is just gentle guidance. There's no force of the hand, which is why I'm just demonstrating that using my fingertips. You could also choose to hold here steady, but keep both shoulders on the ground. Gaze might be up or along the extended arm. Taking a deep full breath in and out now. Breathe in deeply one more time. And as you exhale, then rolling onto your back, placing your right foot back down onto the ground and guiding the left knee towards the chest. If the knee is squeezing. Same option here. You could choose to extend the right leg out long. If you do, please flex the foot and lightly draw the left side of the hip downwards, so to balance out your pelvis. If this feels right on an out breath, could you lift your nose up towards the knee and maybe hold there for a moment? Then lowering your head and upper body back down, placing left hand on left knee, right hand onto the hip. And starting small here as well, just drawing a circle with the knee into the air, beginning a light rotation out from the hip joint. And you may choose to extend these circular motions. As we move into the left side of the hip, pause here. And reverse the direction there too. Circle size can be the same or how it suits your body. Then a pause, give the knee another hug and begin to circle your foot in the air. So again, please extend that movement into the foot, moving lightly through the toes, not just your ankle joint. And changing direction here. Releasing the motion, and it's the right hand touching the left knee now. The left arm falls out to the side, and carefully as you breathe out, guiding the knee across into a twist. You may again do the same on this side, or you may practice it on this side, lightly rocking in and out if you feel you could do with a greater range of movement. Or holding still, but also here very gentle support, never pushing or forcing. You might turn your gaze along your extended arm and take a deep, full breath. Rolling again onto the back, give the knee another squeeze, maybe out by nose to knee. Releasing your upper body back down and guiding the second knee in towards the chest. Give them both a squeeze. You might lift your nose up between your knees. Curl yourself into a tight little ball. Then release your head and shoulders again. Option to rock here from side to side. Little massage across the back into the floor. If you find rolling over to the side is your preference, you may do so to come up to sit, or you may massage along the spine by rocking a few times, full length of your spine, then into a seated position. We won't stay seated, we will come straight onto the hands and the knees. So I will use a blanket here to cushion my achy knees. If you have little niggles in your knees too, you might do the same with your blanket. As you step your knees down onto the mat, hip distance apart, let your hands spread out into the mat that is shoulder distance apart, and making just that little effort of having the wrists maybe a couple of centimeters out from underneath the shoulders to find a neutral spinal position. As you inhale, let your elbows soften, the belly dropping, tail and gaze are rising. With the elbows, straighten your arms and deeply round into the spine cat position. Inhaling, tail gaze, lifting, elbows soft. Out breath, cat pose. Inhale, back bend. Out breath, around. Let that flow for a few more breaths. Try and soften your elbows on your inhale to deepen the back bend and push the arms long as you're breathing out to extend into the back. Next round is your last. Then pausing as you find your solid all four stands. On your next inhale, lifting your right arm up and turning your gaze. On the out breath, threading the needle as you lie down onto your shoulder, maybe your ear. If the head low isn't yours, you can also place your ear or side of the head onto a block. That might also help if your shoulder is a bit sore. You could then choose to step up onto the fingertips of your left hand, creating something like a cup, the fingertips pressing down. Your elbows lifted so the twist in your upper back is increased. And so you can look underneath your arm just like a window. Thread the needle pose. Let your hand spread back out and ground to the floor. As you push down, take a breath in, lift the right arm again, turn to that side. On your out breath, landing your hand down. Left arm is lifting, take a breath in, looking over to the left. And the out breath as you draw your arm under. Again here, you could use a block underneath the side of your head to support shoulder or head height. As you come to rest here, you might place your right hand fingertips down, building a cup. Raise the elbow, push the fingertips into the floor so that that shoulder raises a bit more and you look through a window that is your arm. You gaze just along the floor. As you spread your right hand back out onto the mat, pushing into the floor and a breath in to lift your left arm again and out to place your hand down. Now, please do have your block ready for the next pose. You might like it. Some of you might like to support if you have with a bolster. Yet others either have pitching on the front of the body is unsuitable for you. Even with the props, you might roll onto your back, take your right ankle to your left thigh and hug in a figure four. If you're with me, slide your right knee behind your right wrist and take the foot a little bit across to the other side of the mat. If you're kind of here, slide the leg out behind your back and you might choose to pop a block underneath the right side of your buttocks. This may or may not be a good idea. Please feel into your own body to judge. You might also be sitting on the bolster here, ultimate support. Let's come up onto the fingertips. If you're with me, opening your front body and take a deep full breath in. With your out breath, slowly lower. You might place your hands back down. You might place your forearms down. If you have a spare block, you might rest your forehead onto that. Or you could rest the forehead to the ground and even extend both arms forward if there is the space for it. Just let yourself be here, noticing tight positions that you might be in. Did you expect any particular outcome from this shape? Have you chosen to be on your back with your right ankle on your left thigh instead? Are you taking care of yourself foremost? You can now choose to stay exactly as you are. Or you could choose to step up onto your hands. Take a breath in and lift your left arm, and out to thread the needle. You might then draw your arm back out from underneath, land it onto the mat, lift your heart again. You could then choose to raise your right arm as you breathe in and reach under as you breathe out. Again, landing the hand. Now, those of you who have chosen to rest, you might land your hands on the mat as well. We might all even come back up onto the fingertips and extend the front body once more, taking a breath in. And then spread your hands out onto the ground as you breathe out, lifting the front leg and sliding your knee back. Both knees on the ground, lean your hips a little forward, find the knee-length plank instead of a downward facing dog with your usual counter posture. If you don't mind, you could also tuck your toes under and lift the knees off the floor for Kumbhakasana. If you were to do that, push a little bit forwards and back here on the feet, extension of your legs. Same you could do with one knee down, moving into the right leg. Then pause, and on your out breath, keep your elbows close and come to land on the front of the body, untucking your toes. The forehead is resting down. Let your elbows now spread out onto the mat, stacking your hands, and rest your forehead onto stacked hands. Crocodile pose. Also nice counter pose given the previous posture where we're fully extended in the body. You can choose to leave your head on the ground and take an inhale to raise the right leg up straight, pointing out your toes to the back end of the mat. Exhaling to release the leg. Repeating left, breathing in, lift a straight leg up, point out through your toes. Out, breath to release. We'll repeat again, twice more each side. Inhaling to raise one leg. Exhaling to lower. You are breathing and moving. If the movement is suitable for you, please continue and complete it. But option here to lift the head and the chest lightly. Arms can support on the ground. They're lifting and lowering. But you don't have to push the forearms into the mat. You could also simply choose not to use the hands in the ground and lift your upper body anyway. One more to each side. And then releasing back down. You might slide your hands now back underneath your shoulders. Take your in-breath onto all fours. And as you step your knees back down onto the mat, choosing to have them close together or widen the knees and your big toes are touching, your choice. I will choose closed legs for now personally. Your choice, knees wide or close as you lower in towards a child's pose or downward facing hero. Feel free to create little wiggles across your pelvis, finding your place or easing into the same shape. Taking a deep breath now into your belly, expand to the sides, and then right up to collarbones and upper back. Pause the breath if you wish, and breathing out from the top, and lastly squeezing a little bit the belly to empty your lungs. On your next inhale, then Lifting up again onto hands and knees. Place hands back at shoulder distance, knees back at hip distance. Sliding your left knee forward as you place that behind the left wrist. And take the foot a bit across to the other side of the mat. You might slide the back leg out behind you. If you need an option of lying on your back, please simply take it left ankle to right thigh, hugging legs in if comfortable enough. If you want support here, take the block, place it underneath your bottom, or come to sit over a bolster if you wish. Let's rise onto the fingertips if you're here at the front and start to open the front body. Deep full breath. With your next out breath, might you lower your hands down, your forearms, or even the forehead. And the same here, you could use the block as a rest for your head. You may also stay on your forearms, or you may extend your arms out in front of you. See if you can find a way of settling into the stillness of this shape called the Kapada Racha Kapodasana, or half pigeon pose. This stretch is widely used even outside of yoga, as it's a very great stretch for anyone who's walking a lot, running a lot, cycling a lot, any of those very repetitive lower body movements. As you might walk your hands back onto the ground, taking an inhale here to raise your right arm, and exhale to thread. As you come back onto your hand, raising your left arm, breathing in, and out, press to thread. Stepping back up onto the hand, maybe even the fingertips to extend your front body once more, breathing in. The out breath, let your hands spread back down onto the ground and take the front knee to join the back knee. I'll give you the very same options here for release from the half pigeon. A kneeling plank, tailbone to heel. Toes tucked under, full plank, tailbone to heels. If you're in the full plank, rocking forwards and backwards across your feet. If you want to keep a knee down, left leg extended and having the similar rocking movement. Then from your plank or kneeling plank, exhaling and lowering back down onto the front of the body. Resting the forehead down, tops of the feet are flat. Sliding your hands back forward and maybe placing the other hand on top. As we're ready, into crocodile pose, elbows spread out onto the floor, forehead is resting. If you enjoyed moving just one leg and you prefer that movement, please repeat. If you'd like to try both legs, keep the head down and breathe in, raising the legs up straight, pointing through your toes. Exhale, release the legs. Inhale, lifting, strong legs, pointing your toes. Out, breath, release, and repeat that 4 more breaths. Up and down, either alternating the legs or both at the same time, upper body resting. Once you complete it, you can choose to continue or add your upper body as you breathe in and out to release. Inhaling, lifting. Out breath, releasing. If all of this feels good, arms can be weight-free here as you continue the movement. And then just 2 more rounds, 2 more breaths. Once you completed your breath, resting down, slide your hands back underneath your shoulders. On your inhale, rise onto your hands and knees and make the same choice again. Not necessarily same outcome. Knees wide or knees close. Buttocks to your heels in your chosen variation. While you might vary your choices or repeat them as they're simply the better choice for yourself. I've been moving a little bit in this shape. Then take your hands back in the direction of your knees. Tuck your toes under. Lift the knees off the ground, maybe even removing any blankets from the mat for now. And starting to come into a standing forward fold. Uncurling from here as you roll up through your spine. If the shoulders a little shrug back. And you might take a little walk towards the front side of your mat, joining me here in a mountain pose. Let's reach the arms up on the in-breath. On the out-breath, circle the arms out, placing your hands into the hips. Shift the weight lightly to your left foot while you might lift your right heel or right knee. Taking a step back, but also out to hip distance as you land the foot in a deep angle, bending the front knee. Your pelvis is still looking forward. If it isn't, check your stance and then pull the feet in a little bit towards each other. This is Warrior One stance. We're taking an eagle arms. As you breathe in, open your arms out wide. And now cross your right arm underneath your left. You can choose to hug your shoulders or you can choose to touch the palms of your hands together. Bringing your gaze forward as you let your shoulders relax. See if you can keep a squeeze of the feet in towards each other. An option now to lift your sternum and reach your elbows up. Think about reaching the sternum up rather than leaning backwards. As you gently lower your elbows, finding your neutral spinal position, and then shifting the weight into your left foot. Take the back foot and slide it around the other foot as we're crossing the legs. Bending into both knees, your big toe can remain on the floor if you prefer, or hugging the legs together with just the standing leg grounded. Squeezing your arms lightly, finding eagle pose, Garudasana. Let's unwind the arms like wings, lift the right knee again, and land the foot, as well as the arms, turning the palms forward and standing in a mountain. Knees unlocking, pelvis floating. Inhaling, lifting the arms again. Maybe your gaze comes up too. With the out breath, circle the arms out and place your hands again onto your hips. Shifting the weight to the right foot as you might raise your left heel or the left knee comes up. Stepping your foot out to the side and back where it can reach. Landing that foot in a deep angle while bending the front knee. The same effect here. Nothing moves in the pelvis. We're just choosing a wider stance in the feet. Squeezing the feet in towards each other. Foundational. As you breathe in, open your arms and heart. Crossing your left arm underneath your right this time. The same option here, hugging or touching the palms. Let the shoulders be easy and come back into the feet. They're squeezing towards each other so you can stand tall. You can even feel how your lower abdominals are included in that foot squeeze. So to hold you here, keep that foundation, and you might choose on your next inhale to lift your elbows as well as your sternum and heart reaching upwards. You keep the squeeze between the feet. There's enough support here to really lift the heart. Gently let your elbows come back in, neutralizing your spine. Starting to lean the weight to your front foot, beginning to lift the back foot. Maybe drawing it along the floor and circling around the other foot. As you cross your legs, bend both of your knees. You may leave the big toe on the floor as extra support, or you could lift the foot, hugging the legs and hugging the arms together. Your hands are touching. You might have one eye looking along either side of the hands. Let's unwind to fly as you breathe in. Lift wings and knee. And then land the foot and turn the palms forward again. Maybe closing your eyes as you soften your knees and come back into that neutral spine, the pelvis floating. As you might choose to blink your eyes open, take your block. I will place this block in front of the mat. I will have my foot facing the block, but about the length of the side of the waist away from the block. The left hand might come into the side of the waist. And I'm now reaching forward with my fingertips to the block. You can use, instead of a block, even a chair or the wall. So no need to have this item really. If you do, heeling your left foot off the ground. You might stay here, just keeping your big toe touching. But if you choose to lift the foot, please flex it strongly. You might aim to lift the foot at the height of your hip. Keeping your gaze down, you could start to open not just the hip, but also the shoulders, aiming to stack. If you find this is for you to be held, you could also extend your left arm. Options. You could then lower the left hand towards the block or the floor as well. Point your toes in the air and begin to lower your nose towards the knee, whereas you're stretching your toes upwards. Not suitable, you can stand on both feet. As you bend the knee in the air, touch it behind the other and place the top of the foot down. This block might come in handy as you lower your shin down. You might slide that block where your bottom is landing onto the mat. You don't need the block necessarily, but I find it more comfortable. Right foot is now in front of the shin, and you could keep it there. You could also choose to step that foot across to the other side. Let your right hand fingertips land behind your back and place your left hand to the right knee. Pull yourself up long, inhaling. And then come into a twist when breathing out. Notice your spine is long. And if you wish, you can give your knee a hug in with your elbow instead of your hand. Only choices, finding yours. Allowing yourself to sit quite solid on both of your sitting bones within this twist. On your next in-breath, then turning the head forward. With the out breath, release. Bring your feet to one side, the block to the front side of the mat. For demonstration purposes, I will turn around. No need for you to do the same. And come back to stand in front of your block. Keep a similar distance here, so your toes are about the side of the waist away from the block. The right hand goes into the waist on the other side. As you might lean down towards a block or another object that you're leaning towards, you might begin to peel the right foot off the floor. You could keep your big toe on the ground and still roll your shoulder back, working on a half moon. If you choose to lift the foot, please do flex it immediately. You might then very slowly begin to turn your hips and shoulders open. If you happen to find some sense of balance, you could also choose to extend the right arm. Back into Ardha Chandrasana, half moon pose. As you might release your arm down and bring both hands to the block, point the toes behind you. And your option on the outwards, a forward fold or standing splits as you raise your toes up to the ceiling or stand on both feet. Nose goes towards the knee. On the outwards, then bend the knee in the air and touch it behind the other to place the top of the foot down, then the shin down. You may do the same here. Grab your block and place it underneath your bottom as you're landing in another seated position, ready for a twist. With the foot in front of the shin, the posture is already perfect. If you can still sit balanced, you can also step the foot across to the outside of your leg. Left hand fingertips behind, right hand against the opposite knee, and we're pulling ourselves long on the next inhale. Twisting on the out breath, and maybe taking the knee in a little bit closer, wrapping around with the elbow. Just noticing how things feel. You can hold on with hand, elbow in between, letting shoulders be easy. More important, you're sitting firmly on both sit bones, and you're twisting with a long back. Taking another breath here. And with the next inhalation, turning the head forward. With your out breath, just simply unraveling the posture and also removing the block from underneath. I would ask you, however, to place this block into the middle of the mat by your side within reach. I will also get my blanket again as a gentle cushioning underneath the head. As we come back onto our backs, please prepare around your mat so you've got everything there that you will need for relaxation. If you enjoy legs up the wall pose and it's not too much hassle for you, in a few movements we will end there. You can do that on your mat, but if you've got a wall nearby, you might as well prepare yourself to go there. As we come to sit in staff pose, take a breath in, legs out long, spine long, and out, breath to roll down onto the floor. If you are using a cushioning behind the head, please make sure it's very thin because we are still using our body and moving through a bridge posture. Walking or stepping your feet up close to your buttocks. As you land your feet, do so at hip distance, adjusting the spine onto the floor and have your arms resting by your side. Breathing in to tilt the pelvis. Breathing out to squeeze the hips up. In to draw your tail to the knees. Breath out to roll the spine down slowly onto the mat. Inhaling, pelvic tilt, spine flattens. Exhale, squeezing the bottom into the air. Inhale, draw your tail to your knees. Exhale, roll your spine back down to the mat. We'll do that again. Inhale, tilt and flatten the spine. Exhale, squeeze your bottom up for bridge. Inhale, tail to knees. Out breath, rolling the spine back down onto the mat. Last time we will lift to hold as you tilt the pelvis. Inhale. Exhale, squeezing your bottom up into the air. Draw your tail up to the knees as you inhale and then hold while breathing normally. Your choice of actually holding here. If you do, you might walk your shoulders under, interlace the hands and lengthen your arms onto the mat. Or you might grab your block flat, maybe halfway up, maybe all the way up, and placing the block directly under the last bony bit of the spine, the tailbone. Practicing this bridge in a supported form, your arms could relax out and lightly away from the body. Whether you're holding your bridge without support or with support. If you do have a block underneath, please stay. If you don't and you lift it, please do place a block underneath, unless you prefer to go legs up the wall. In that case, please roll down. Sit with the side of your hip to the wall. Roll onto your back and lift your feet up against the wall. I will demonstrate that in a moment. If you're on the block, take a hold of the block, lift your feet up off the ground. And if you feel safe and supported, extending the legs upwards. If you are next to the wall, being with the side of the hip there, this is the lazy version as I'm already lying down. And you might then roll to the side, lifting your legs up against the wall. If you find an elevation of the hips would be useful, you could bend your knees, push them into the wall, and slide your block underneath the sacrum anyway, extending the legs. And the same here, anything supported, arms can fall away from the body if you wish, and eyes could close. No matter your variation of legs up the wall or Viparita Karani, whether that is actually against the wall or you're resting your hips on a block and extending your legs up. Let yourself pause there. Softness comes through knees and feet. Maybe your arms and shoulders too. Enjoying for a few more breaths this shade called the Fountain of Youth. A quite rejuvenating posture that I wish I would remember more often to do when having a strenuous day. Maybe even just do anyway. If you are like my body, resting against the wall literally, and you've got something underneath, please bend your knees and step the feet down. If you are resting on your back in that supported version, you might bring your knees loosely over your chest and also step the feet down when ready. Everyone who's got something underneath from there would use their feet to lift the hips up. Remove that item and roll the spine slowly down onto the floor. If you're already on your back, please rest. If you're against the wall, let the knees drop to the chest and then rolling to your favorite side. From your favorite side, then finding your way down onto your back. And as we are back together, lying on the mat, the feet on the ground, the body lying there, you could choose to extend the legs out long. Reach your arms up over the head and have a good full body stretch. You might then walk your legs and arms to the left into banana stretch. Then walking arms and legs to the right. And a banana stretch to the other side. Just a few breaths here. Very slowly centering your body and releasing your arms. If you feel ready, drop into Shavasana. Maybe you have a support underneath your knees, whatever you usually do to give yourself comfort and release your mind from your body would be great. As you lie down, the head can be supported, so it can be your knees. You can choose between a full Shavasana and a constructive rest, which is the knees bent, the feet wide, and the knees dropping in. As you find your resting pose, maybe your eyes are closing again. Maybe you prefer that gazing point just above you that is steady. Maybe your sankalpa, your intention comes back to mind here. If you had one, you might choose to repeat it another 3 times silently to yourself. Once you completed that, if at all, start to listen. Listen to the sounds immediately around you. Expand your awareness of sounds to the space outside of the space you're in. Then draw the awareness to your body on the mat, feeling into the back body, resting and supported by mat, floor, earth. The parts of the body facing away from the floor, maybe just light pressure of clothing on the body or blanket. Facing into the space and the air that we share. Notice the air that moves through the nostrils, in and out, the quality of this air entering, the quality of the air exiting the nostrils. What sensations do you experience at this moment within this body? When you move your mind now to your feelings and emotions, what do you notice? Come to rest with a gentle flow of breath. If you choose to keep the focus on your breathing, remind yourself of the breath when the mind wanders. You could also choose to listen to a repetition of the poem, The Fruits of Practice. Despite fervent pleas for ease and safety, there are many days when reality doesn't quite line up with what I choose, breakdown, letting go, surrendering even the illusion of control, breathing into the unknown. Sometimes that is what life holds. Practice hasn't brought an end to pain. I still increase my suffering like a fish caught on a line. My struggles only draw the hook in deeper. But being in reality is its own reward. It's the perfect paradox, the courage to stand and breathe when everything in me wants to flee. As a great is gift as the freedom to seek retreat. No, practice hasn't brought an end to pain, but it has honed my willingness to experience the moment and sometimes see perfection unfolding in ways I wasn't big enough to plan, much less predict. Practice isn't about achieving a goal. It is not a means to prevail over suffering. Practice is my way of looking life in the face and saying yes to all its disparate gifts. Practice keeps me awake when I would sleep and reminds me it's the journey unfolding in this very moment. It's the journey that reveals the truth and not the destination. Beginning to deepen your breathing. As you come back to experiencing the qualities of the air moving in and out of your nose. As you might find your physical body more relaxed. Maybe thoughts, emotions, and feelings have shifted or changed. While you keep your breath flowing more deeply, beginning to move your body, maybe wiggling, maybe stretching out long. And in the end, joining me in a seated position. When you're ready, you might even choose to keep your eyes shut as you come to sit. You may support yourself in this seat, and you could choose to touch your hands together in Anjali Mudra in front of your chest. I currently finish all of my classes with just one universal sound of Om, followed by three shantis for peace. So you might choose to join in as we breathe in together for the Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Gently bow to each other. Namaste. I will show you before we finish officially, show you the card that I drew for the practice and realized might be more for myself. But if you too need a little bit of grounding, working on your roots, family business, and securities, this card might resonate with you too.